Welcome back, guys. We're here for Jaws 2.0.
Hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
All right, we are back. It has been about 4 years since we have come back to do Jaws, which is the Jason and Ashley Wahler story now, where we're here to talk all things recovery, mental health, family, addiction, God.
Life, because it's our story.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited. I can't believe we're back.
Yeah.
I feel like this has been like such a blessing from God. There's been so many opportunities that we've had in the last couple of months just talking about still our recovery story and mostly like where we are today and giving people hope. And so I feel like this has been such an amazing opportunity for us to just really listen to God and say like, okay, it's time. Like we need to relaunch Jaws. You're coming up on 5 years of recovery. It's such a big deal. And I think we need to just let the audience know like where we've been in the last 4 years. I'm so great.
Yeah, just to catch you guys up, for those of you that didn't see the first season that we did, it was really documenting myself when I had relapsed, what it looked like for both Ashley and I walking through that first year of sobriety. And here we are about 5 years later, so we figured we would catch you guys up on just kind of like the good, the bad, the ugly, the beauties of what sobriety has brought into our family, what Ashley dealing with her codependency enabling and addressing those issues has been able to create clear communication and ultimately be able to set boundaries to better herself and her life. But yeah, we really just thought this would be a unique and cool opportunity to come back and share with you guys, as we know there's a lot of people out there that are struggling, that are going through a lot of different trials and tribulations in life. And we thought, hey, look, this is a great opportunity for us to be able to connect and spend time with one another, but also be able to hopefully shed some light, some guidance, and some insight and direction for you. So you're not alone on this journey, whichever side you are on, and whatever it is that you're going through. So I think, Ashley, I'd like to maybe catch up everybody, just what it was like to summarize that first year of walking through. I know it's kind of going back through memory lane here, but what it was like that first year to where you're at now, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually.
Wow. Okay. So I feel like after the first year, when you got sober, I remember at your 1 year sobriety, and we threw like a little party for you, and we had all these people give videos for Jason, and it was a really special moment because we hadn't reached that year in so long. And that first year, I will say, was like really tough. It was a lot of learning. It was a lot of unlearning, which I think was really important because we had learned such bad behaviors and such bad rhythms through the cycle of addiction that, like our therapist would say, like we had to relearn a different dance, and trying to like memorize those steps in order to like relearn them. Like we did the salsa for all these years. Like now we have to do the tango and we have to learn the choreography for that. And that's really what it's all about. It's like relearning life, relearning how to live without the disease of addiction. And for me personally, like relearning how to not be enabling and codependent. And that took a really long time. Al-Anon, obviously I've said multiple times, is like a huge resource for me. But not even necessarily just going to Al-Anon meetings, but like really plugging in and doing the work of the steps is really important, because you can say that you can go to meetings, but it's an action program, which I've talked about so much. It's not really about just talking about going to the meetings. It's about doing the work in order to seek the recovery. And I think just verbally, the knowledge that I have now, I feel so much more confident and comfortable about talking about recovery, about talking about giving people hope, because of the fact that now I have so much more dialogue about the issue, and just feeling so much hope and strength in where we are today and our marriage. And I truly feel like if you can get through the hard parts in the marriage, that's really when you get to have, like, you reap the rewards of what marriage really is. Like, I don't really feel like, you get married, it's like the honeymoon phase and everything's great and dandy, and then you get into the routine of life. Well, we didn't have that because we had faced so many trials and tribulations. And I think when you go through those really hard struggles, the marriage becomes so much more beautiful, and you become so much more connected
Yeah.
as one. And so I feel so grateful for that because we've been through so much and we're like literally like soul. I was gonna say soul sisters.
Oh,
Like,
boy.
but we're so connected spiritually, physically, emotionally, and it's just and
Yeah, it
that
takes you to a deeper level
Yeah.
when you experience those things and you stick with it. And, you know, again, anything worth having is not easy. And I think when you persevere and deal with those challenges head on, I mean, those deficits become your greatest assets. And I think that's whether it's your own personal journey or something that you do collectively together. And it's just apparent. I mean, again, is for where you and I are. I just look back at that first year of just not even being able to have those just simple conversations, like literally not being facetious, of like, what are we doing for dinner? And it became an argument. You know, I mean, it's just like, you know, this stupidest things, and just the growth that has come out of that, and everything. And I just look back at, you know, just how chaotic life was, and how cunning, baffling, and powerful addiction is and was during that time for me. And I mean, how it can really take over somebody's life and put you into a place that is just so deep and dark. I mean, it's like one of those things where, I mean, you get in such denial. It's like you literally are eating a hamburger, telling people you're having a hot dog. I mean, that's just how dark it gets. And I mean, that's obviously a stupid analogy, but I mean, it's also like the truth behind it. And we've made tremendous strides, and I think that's even like one of the things I wanted to touch about. For those of you that don't know, we ended up moving to Franklin, Tennessee, about almost 3 years ago now. And had I not gotten sober, that definitely would not have been even an option to do. I mean, one, move out of the city, let alone, you know, move out of the state to moving across the country. And again, that's just the beauty and the gifts of sobriety, because it really allotted me the opportunity from my side. Collectively, obviously, we made the decision together. But as if I wasn't sober and I didn't, you know, and didn't go through the motions and you didn't take care of yourself, we would have never been in a place or an area to be able to make a decision, to make such a big decision. Right? That makes sense? Okay,
yeah.
I'm making sure.
100%.
And so with that being said, you know, for us to move, it was something that was very selfless. And what I mean by that is we wanted to provide a better life for our children. We wanted to get them out of the riffraff and the chaos of the fast-paced life of Southern California and the keeping up with the Joneses, and to move to a place that it was a little bit slower, that had a little bit different morals, different values. And again, that's like, again, I'm just so grateful, because this has been one of the biggest blessings and the biggest gifts is for me, after 35 years of being in Southern California, to move, which I never thought would happen, and to be in this place. And that's truly because of sobriety.
If you think about it, like all those years of you in the depths of your disease, you made selfish decisions, and this decision to move our family across the country was the most selfless decision. And you had to get to a point in your recovery where you could start making decisions for other people instead of just making them for yourself. And I think that that's so commendable and one of the greatest gifts of recovery. And, you know, it's interesting because Kristen Cavallari told us a long time ago when we were thinking about moving here, she said, you will never fully mature as an adult until you move away from your family.
Yeah.
And, you know, Jason comes from a wonderful family, but there is rooted, same with my family, you know, baby boomer era, lots of codependency. And I do think that until you can really step away from that, I think a lot of your identity was ingrained in Laguna Beach and living there and everything else. And like, you pictured yourself through that eye of like the Laguna Beach Jason Wahler. And until you could move away from that and away from your family and really figure out your identity, like that's when you really became yourself.
Yeah.
And like the most incredible version of yourself, I think, because I think just being in that environment, it was almost holding you back from maturing emotionally and physically. And now it's like, there's something so wonderful about recovery too, because you get emotional maturity. And that's something that like is so challenging, even for men nowadays that don't even struggle with addiction. Like they don't have emotional maturity. And so I'm so grateful that you have emotional maturity. Like it's so wonderful to be able to have a relationship with somebody that has the emotional maturity now.
Yeah, and I think I think for those of you that don't know what that means, or just to take it to a deeper level from the emotional maturity, it's always been told to me, and what we've learned for years is basically you emotionally stop maturing when you start indulging and struggling with your addiction. So I mean, so for me at the ages of 17, I basically stopped growing emotionally and mentally, and that happened through my whole addiction until I was 23. And so basically at the age of 17, when I was 24 years old, I started to try to mature a little bit from that era when I had that 4 or 5 years of sobriety. So, and then again through the relapse, stopped maturing again. And so it's crazy because I've noticed tremendous growth in myself when it comes to that, because it was like, God, I was so mentally and emotionally immature in so many situations that I never really was able to identify or dive into. And I think that's what's beautiful about this too, as we continue this journey with you guys, and as we go into this, some of the things that, one of the things that is newer to me actually was in a meeting this morning. Here we are almost 5 years later, and I am doing Al-Anon, and it's something that I can see. I think most people that struggle with addiction definitely are double winners and definitely have the traits of codependency and or enabling. But for me, it was so hard to take a look at myself and be able to really realize that until I got mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually mature, to be able to be like, oh my gosh, dude, you definitely struggle with, with people pleasing and some areas of control and things like that, which is just hindering and really taken away from my life. So it's a really funny how the tables not have turned, but like what she was talking about to you guys 4 years ago, is now something that I'm doing in my life. And I would never have thought 3 or 4 years ago that, Al-Anon or codependency was really a struggle in my life, to the point where I needed to really address it. I think everybody has a little bit of it, but I can see how debilitating it is made me, just within my professional career, within my relationships, with family. And so it's cool. There's always room for growth. And I think that's a big part of why we're doing this show. Is like, just because I got sober, and because she started to do the work on herself, doesn't mean that everything's hunky-dory. Life happens. You have to stay consistent and persistent with it. One of my favorite quotes you guys often hear me say is the structure and consistency create safety. And look, we're not perfect. We fall off, and we have moments where, we need to get, we go from on the beam to off the beam, and really addressing those things. And so again, just because you're abstinence of drugs and alcohol doesn't mean that you're living a life in recovery. And the same thing with Ashley, just because she's addressed and worked the steps and dealt with codependency doesn't mean that those things aren't still underlying and character defects that she has. We both have those, and we have to address them on a daily basis. And so I think that's really kind of what this is going to be focused on for us moving forward is, hey, look, here was kind of a snapshot and a catch up of what it is that we're going through, but really, again, readdressing some of the things that have been, newer in our life in the last 6 months, and what it is that I've gone through, and how addiction for myself still will come up in other areas of my life, and how it can take control, and again, what are the areas of how to address those things. And the same thing with Ashley from the codependency perspective. And definitely for me, I mean, if you guys are out there and you struggle with like the people pleasing or the self-worth or the ability to, or just low self-esteem in certain things, I think this would be a great opportunity for you to connect and to dive in. And I want you to add what you want to add, but I think that's just, from the heart where things are and why we're doing this.
No, I think that's amazing. Yeah. I think it's just, obviously, like you said, just because we've gone through programs and we've done a lot of work, we're definitely not perfect. I mean, I fall short in a lot of areas of my life trying to manage also my codependency, being pregnant. I've struggled with an eating disorder for years that I talked about in previous Jaws, and how that comes back up in my life. Being pregnant, trying to take care of kids. There's so many decisions that I'm making now with work and what our life's gonna look like after this third baby. And those are all big fears. And, a lot of the issues with codependency too, I believe is like the future tripping. We learn about that a lot in Al-Anon, is when somebody's struggling with addiction, you future trip a lot about what the future's gonna be, and you don't know how to stay in your own lane or be where your feet are. And that causes you to spiral and spin, and your mind starts going a million miles a second. Well, my mind does that a lot. And I think it's really important that I have to constantly be aware of that and be where my feet are, because I can future trip about everything, which is what causes anxiety. Like the anxiety is the fear of the unknown. Yeah. And if I just stay and be where my feet are and continue to just pray and really like slow down, then those fears and stuff don't creep back up and that anxiety doesn't creep back up. But that's something that, you know, is inevitable. That's just life, and continuing to just like put forth those life skills are really important. And I think it's going to be really fun for us to start talking more about like kids and our life and like really what's going on in our weekly basis of keeping up with you guys, and stuff that we struggle with, stuff that we fall short from, stuff that we're really excited about, stuff that we are grateful for. It's just really fun because we love sharing our life with you guys, and we have so many.
We also want to hear from you guys too,
Yes.
the things that you guys are going through, and again, just you know, in the comment section below, just whether you like what we're putting out there, whether you don't like it, you know, but also too, just some of the things that you're going through, just for us, because again, as I think the biggest piece of this whole thing is to let you guys know that you're not alone. That there's a sense of relatability and connectivity, which ultimately creates safety. And so for us, that's really what we want to establish with you guys. And so we're excited to take this journey with you. And Ashley, we also just want to be as transparent. I don't want this to be some overly, you know, I don't even want it to be edited necessarily. I want this to just be a really raw show.
Same.
And for you guys to feel like it's authentic. And so, I mean, with that being said, and again, as I'm sure we're going to bring a lot of our what's happened over the last 5 years into a lot of the context. Now, I don't think we need to like nail and bring all that together today. But I really want to touch on something that happened more recently. I want to kind of get right into it because it's something that's very fresh. And again, only if you're comfortable with it, but is talking about just where you're at right now with pregnancy. Because I can share with you what it's, you know, to viewers on my side, how it's impacting my life, but also what's really going on with you from a mental, emotional standpoint, from the insecurities to, you know, just really not like being pregnant, to very uncomfortable in your own skin, to, you know, really struggling right now. And so again, is not to put you on the spot, but I think it's very, the timing of it right now is very real. And obviously you've been in a lot of pain about this and very emotional. And, I mean, where do you want to start with that?